Hi, I'm Nina Boski, and welcome to Life Bites, where each and every week we'll get you inspired in the areas of life, business, and media. We'll help you dare, dream, do, and be so you can get out of your head into your soul in order to tune in and take a bite. This week, we're getting you media inspired. I am so excited about my next guest. I have had the pleasure of interviewing her before in my radio show, but now we get a chance to interview the delightful Deana Martin. And let me just tell you, for those of you that know her legendary dad, Dean Martin, you'll think, wow, what a phenomenal performer he was. But I have to say, I got a chance to watch you, Deana Martin, in person, and what a fabulous performer you are, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and what a very nice introduction. Thank you. Well, you know what? I learned from the very best. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would. The kind of nuances that you have and that natural entertainer, not everybody has that. And I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I really wasn't. And I have to say, you have that natural quality of entertaining that your dad had as well. And one of the things I was going to ask you, though, is when did you know you wanted to be a performer?
Oh, gosh. I knew. Well, I knew from a very young age. Because, as luck would have it, I was able to have ballet lessons, tap lessons, piano lessons, so, and actually all the Martins are hams anyway. But, I knew that I wanted to do it when I was maybe 9 years old when I knew I wanted to do it professionally. And that was when we went to the Sands Hotel, which you have like this little...
I know, so let me get it right. There we go.
Ocean's 11. And I went to the Sands Hotel and sat in the Copa room, at the Sands, and the room was dark, and I was there with my family. We were ringside, and all of a sudden you hear the announcer say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Sands Hotel is proud to present the star of our show, direct from the bar, Dean Martin." And everybody went, "Whoa!" And then he walked out in that tuxedo and the red pocket square, looking so handsome. And he sang, and he was funny, and the audience just adored him. And I thought, okay, that's what I want to do.
That's what you want to do.
That's what I want to do.
When did you know that your dad was famous?
It's very interesting. And the thing is, because I was Deana Martin, Dean with an A, so people were always, saying, "Oh, you're related to Dean Martin?" And I'm going, "Well, yeah, he's my dad." But I think it wasn't until we went to a movie, my sisters and I went to see, and it might have been Rio Bravo or something, but everybody was a big line. We're standing in line. And my sister says, "Look, Dina," because we're looking up at the marquee, and it says, Rio Bravo starring John Wayne and Dean Martin. And she says, "That's almost your name. You're Dina." And all of a sudden it was like, here's people in line. We're looking at, we were in Westwood at, the Westwood Theater, the Bruin. And I look at me. And I said, "I want my name up, just like that." And all these people were coming to see. And then when we went in to see the movie and hearing the response from everybody, I said, "Wow, okay, he really is big." But, because when you're growing up with him, he was just, and he was so sweet and kind and funny anyway. So he was, we had friends, I was going to school with, Desi Arnaz Jr., Lucy Jr., of course, my brother, Ricardo Montalban's daughter, Anita, so, and that was, Fantasy Island, but that was years later. And, so I grew up around these people. And so everybody's parents were, famous. But I think it was that one time when I was watching that movie, and there he was with John Wayne, and everybody just, being crazy. So that's when it was like,
oh, this is real. This is real. Now, you said, you alluded to your family's kind of like the ham, right? But you seem to be the breakout sibling that decided to really, make this part of your, make this your career. Did any of your other siblings have, kind of inklings of wanting to be in showbiz as well? I'm sure some of them. We had talked about it.
My brother Ricky and Gail, but Dino, Desi, and Billy. So my brother Dean Paul.
Yeah.
And and I think they were so young, and I'm still friends, of course, with Desi and Billy, And in fact, sometimes Billy from Dino Disney, Billy would come and do a show. I'll have him come up and sing "Memories Are Made of This" with me, and we'll do a duet, because he lives in Henderson, in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
So he'll come to my shows and he'll get up, and he's a fabulous singer. And so we went to Vegas, and I did a big 100th birthday party for Deana Martin, and I had the Gold Diggers, and they came, and we were at the South Point. The Gold Diggers, they were beautiful. I had 8 of them, and we sang. They entertained. We had the best time ever. And so I had Billy come up and Desi. So there was one part where, we all sang "Memories Made of This," and they said, "Sweet, sweet, the memories you gave to me." And in fact, at that show, we put the door, the door that my dad has on the Deana Martin show, and he never knew who was there. And he would go and open the door, they would knock, and then he didn't know who was coming out.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did for my Vegas show. And there'd be a knock on the door, and I went over and I opened it. And, it was, there were so many people who came out. I mean, it was, Mary Wilson. So she came out and said, they're nice, the Springs are here. So it was so much fun. But that's, when you have no idea who's going to be behind the door.
So you didn't even know who was going to be behind the door.
My handsome husband, John, he knows what to do, and he sneaks people around. But that 100th birthday for Dad with the Gold Diggers was absolutely spectacular. And so I've forgotten your question.
No, but you also have some siblings, like you or some stories, I should say, from you were talking about who you grew up with and stuff. And I think, especially back in the day, I don't know if they do it so much now, the celebrities, because it seems so far apart, compared to, classic Hollywood, and everybody lived in Los Angeles back in those days. But I remember you telling us a story about Marilyn and Twister. But do you have you playing Twister, or she was watching you play Twister? But you have some is there another Hollywood story that you would like to share with us about, who was at your house? Because I think that was like an everyday occurrence that somebody new but famous was rolling through the Martin residence.
That was pretty remarkable. It was pretty remarkable. And that's when my brother Dino and I did the twist for Marilyn Monroe, while Bobby Darin was singing "Up a Lazy River Down the Old Mill Road," right?
So the twist, not Twister. Yeah. You were doing the twist.
Right. I think Twister came later. This is way before that. But I think the time, one thing that was really, spectacular is, how kids put on, when you watch Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, and they're putting on a show, it's like they always, okay, let's put on a show. So, with Lorna and Liza and my sisters and brothers were over at Judy Garland's house on Mapleton. And so we said, let's put on a show. So we put on the show, and after, Judy Garland comes over, kneels down to me, and takes my little hand in her little hand. She was very small. She said, "Dina, you were the best tree I've ever seen."
Oh,
oh my gosh. So she was my first critic.
Oh, but what a beautiful critic to have, and what a great memory. Did you get a chance to see Judy? Did you see the movie Judy at all?
The new one.
The new one. Yeah.
I haven't had a chance. Is it wonderful?
You know what it is? I would like to see what you think. I mean, they did a snapshot of time, right? So it's just one part of her journey. But I think about, like, sometimes you'll be on stage and, for some of these iconic, legends, whether it be your dad, and you'll say Uncle Frank, right? And I love the fact that it's just, to you though, Frank Sinatra is Uncle Frank, right?
Absolutely. And, to Tina, my dad was Uncle Dean. So the thing is, first of all, you don't want to call him Mr. Sinatra, and I don't think it would be, growing up in that time, it wouldn't be proper to call him, Frank. So they were Uncle Frank, they were Uncle Sammy, they were, friends, they were over all the time, and they were like our uncles. So it was just, that's how we did it. That's how we said, so we have a lot of fabulous uncles and aunts. Aunties.
Yeah.
But, and they were just friends. And, that's mainly what it was. But they were like uncles to us.
I think one of the perceptions, if they haven't listened to you talk about your dad or read your book, Memories Are Made of This, right? They may not have the real deal that your dad was actually quite a quiet man. He wasn't this extrovert.
Right.
What is another thing that you could tell us a little bit about your dad that we might not know, the average person?
Well, probably, I mean, everything's been written about, and everything that he's done, of course, in my book. But, he was a Gemini. Or, he's, June 7th. And so that's like
Yes.
two people. So he could get out there, entertain everybody, be fabulous, and have a fabulous time and do it. And, you believe him, and he was great. Because he was great at singing, dancing, acting. He was so funny. He was just funny. But then on the other side, he would just love to be alone and, just be quiet, at home. He didn't go out. Uncle Frank would, party until the wee small hours of the morning. But, my dad would get up in the wee small hours of the morning to go play golf. So the difference there. And, but he just loved, he could be, by himself, just alone and quiet. And that's, so it's the two different people, but, not in a weird way or anything. I remember, John and I would ask him, later on in life, because he would go to the Hamburger Hamlet a few nights a week, and then to Joe Patty's restaurant on Cannon Drive, right? And he would sit there, and he would go and he'd have his booth, he'd sit alone, and he loved to be alone. And as people would walk in, they go, "Oh, Deana Martin," says, "Yeah, can I show you to your seat?" He was just natural and happy being, with himself. So I'd call him and I'd say, "Well, John and I, we have come have dinner with you tonight at was it Da Vinci's?" Well, he went there too. But he'd say, "Yeah, come on, come on by." He said, "But, no chit chat." He said, "I don't like the chit, it's the chat." Because when you think about it, he was always on, and you can't be Dean Martin, not have people come up and, and talk to you. And that's who he was. He would talk to everybody. He always taught us to treat people the way you want to be treated. But to know something, when some people have spoken, I say, "Oh, it was so sad, later in life he was all alone." No, he was not alone. He was perfectly happy and, being out with people. He just didn't want to talk.
You didn't want to talk. Well, I mean, it probably, when you get older, you probably kind of go, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? I've done this my whole life and I want to have some peace and quiet. I don't know if I ever shared this story with you, and I can't remember the restaurant. It was Beverly Hills. I walked in, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was there in a booth by himself. And I've always been very respectful of celebrities. So I won't go over and say, oh, by the way, because I just feel like there's a certain amount of respect that way. But I remember thinking to myself, wow, he's by himself, but he seemed very content and just was there by himself having some dinner, So I don't know if I ever shared that story with you.
No, you haven't. And that was him. Whenever, people would come by. In fact, one night when John and I were having dinner with him, Fay Ray was sitting in the booth next to him. And I sit down, then, he's looking, he says, "That's Fay Ray." And, me, silly me, I said, "Oh, I can't be Fay Ray." He says, "Yeah, I am." I thought, oh my gosh. So the people, my dad was just funny and down to earth. And maybe what people don't know is he was kind of claustrophobic.
Oh, I wouldn't, yeah.
He didn't want to go in elevators. So he'd have his hotel room, maybe up one flight of stairs or something, so he could walk.
And we might share that in common, because as I've gotten older, it's the weirdest, strangest thing. But I too, when I get into elevators, I have to make sure that I'm positioned myself closest to the door. Or when you're in an airplane, and you're in the three-person seat, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I don't know if it's crowded. It's really a kind of interesting, concept when you think about that. I would never have thought about that with your dad. But let's get back to you. Did you ever not want to be Deana Martin? Like, because there's a part of you that, I think probably really cherishes the fact, especially now that your dad is passed, that honoring of his name and his legacy, right? But was there ever a time where it became a pain, like, oh my gosh, you're Dean Martin's daughter, oh my gosh, I mean, did it ever like, ugh?
Well, no, I mean, that's always nice to hear. That's great, because he does deserve it, and it's, I'm proud for that. There was only one time that I was a little upset about it, because I was reading for a part. In those days, it would be a cattle call. Everybody would go. And, so you'd go and you'd read. And, you get a call back. And then I would read it again. And then get a call back, and got down to two actors. So it's me and some other lady, and I'm not going to mention her name right now. She got the part. And so I called, I called and I said, my agent, I said, well, what happened? I understand when someone else can get a part. And they said, well, it came down to, they thought since you're Deana Martin's daughter, you had enough money, you didn't need to work. And
Oh,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Or, was that just a nice, and that was not a nice thing to say to me, because
yeah.
I'm out there, working, very, very, always have. In
Yeah.
fact, from a very young age. And that's what, my parents instilled in us. Get up, go to work, be nice to everybody, don't be a jerk, don't embarrass me, know all your lines, and that's how we grew up. So it was, but I was proud to be, I'm always proud to be Deana Martin's daughter.
Well, and it shows. It shows on the stage with your own performance and what a performer you are. What's your favorite part of performing? Is it the singing? Is it being on stage? Is it recording?
I love being on stage. There's nothing better than being in the recording studio, especially if you're at Capitol Studios. And, you're using the same mics that Dean, Frank, Sammy, Peggy, Bobby, everybody used. Nat King Cole's piano. So, you're just surrounded by all of that. And that's wonderful. And you can, you have the musicians who are all fantastic. So creating the music there, that's incredible. But for me, performing is to be able to walk on stage and have the great musicians and to feel the power of them behind you. And it's a great feeling, and to be able to connect with the audience. And that's one thing that I do. And a lot of people, have said that even on my Facebook Live shows, which, a half hour, 40.
I know, and I'm just soaking those up and I'm sharing them too. Even
Yeah.
with the Maryland community, I'm sharing as well. So,
So I'm getting so many responses. People say, you're just like your dad, you're just so easy and relaxed, and it's natural. And I'm saying, that's what I got from him. That's one of the things. His sense of humor, of course, but I just love to entertain.
obviously your dad as well. In terms of Los Angeles, when will you be back in LA to be performing as well too? Do you know yet, or is it?
Well, we just got a call from Herb Alpert's Vibrato, which is up in Mulholland, up in a beautiful jazz club that I love, and we were actually supposed to be there on March 16th and 17th, 18th, so, and we were getting ready to get the plane and take off the next day, and they called me and said, we're canceling the show for closing. And I thought, well, they should have done that a week ago. But, that's right. So we just got a call from Vibrato. So I'm not sure, John has been making the arrangements. So hopefully it'll be soon as they open.
So, Dina, your dad's legacy, what would he say about his legacy today? Would he be surprised the fact that people are still just, oh my gosh, Dean Martin? It feels like he's just as popular as he was when he was here on Earth.
Yeah, I think he would be surprised. He would love it. And, he was so laid back and easy. He would just go, wow, that's great. Because what he wanted to be remembered as was a good entertainer.
Yeah.
And that's what he did, because he worked so hard all of his life. I still can't believe everything he did.
Yeah.
Starting out in Steubenville, Ohio, and, when, I think about the bands that the Ernie Watkins band, and everything that he did, going to New York and all the shows and the radio shows and the recordings and the nightclub appearances and the movies and the TV show and the roast, everything. It's just on and on and on and on and on. And how he played golf every day if he wasn't working, which is really he told me He told me once, he said, Dina, the reason why I work so hard is so I can take care of you kids and play golf.
I love it. And, and it seems like you guys were a really tight family, even though it was a blended family. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
And how is it today, given the fact that dad's not the patriarch anymore, physically, at least not on Earth? How do you guys get together in today's climate, right?
Like we're doing now. No, well, the thing is, Claudia has passed away, Dino passed away, and Ricky died. So there's Craig's out in Palm Springs, with his beautiful wife, and Gail's out in Palm Springs, the Rancho Mirage that are over there. So when we go there, that's good. And then Sasha, we talk. But it's hard because we're all scattered all over. I'm on the road 280 days out of the year, except for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during this time, it's kind of been nice for my husband and I to be able to be home. And
I would think so. Taking a little bit of a pause. I don't know about you, but even though I've still maintained being busy, there's a certain amount of just kind of quieter, not so in movement all the time. And that, I don't know, that feels a little refreshing. I wouldn't want to do it all the time, but definitely if there's,
And so there's no packing and unpacking, and 2 days home and then off again. So we get to relax and enjoy this. And, we've been very busy with doing shows with, and the TV and then of course the Facebook shows, those are fun. It's a lot of work.
It is.
Getting the songs and it's a lot of work.
So I would imagine too, and also, it's really interesting because you always, even on stage when I saw you, and you have it on Facebook as well, your dad always had his famous drink, but I'm sure most people that have read your book or read of Deana Martin, he wasn't the big drinker, as you said. He would be giving up and, going to play golf. So are you the same too? So is the martini a real martini, or is it
like Deana Martini Quarantini?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say.
You know what? I don't have my little martini glass, but next time we get together, we're going to have our little martini. Okay.
All right, that's good, because I have it down in it's down in the rehearsal room where I do the Facebook Live. So it's still sitting there on the table, from, when I was, I just finished the show at 4:00 today. Then I went up and took off the dress and put this on to come here and sit with you. And, I wouldn't drink before a show or anything. So, that's something, that I would do. But,
I'm talking about legacies here. What's the legacy you want to leave for people?
Oh my gosh. I want them to know, I want them, of course, to enjoy all my music, the albums, and that's, some, the TV shows. But I want them to know that I enjoyed what I do and that I was carrying on, what my life's work, which I love. And I just want them to understand that I was just like my dad, a great entertainer, and, just trying to make people happy. And that's what we do. And it's make people comfortable and have a good time, and just that. Not that I'm some fabulous, just to enjoy my music and to keep it alive.
Well, and you certainly are during this time of COVID. We're starting to come out of it. Are you going to continue your Facebook Lives, or is this just part of this experience right now because you're not on the road? Because I love I so enjoy them. I didn't get a chance to see it today, but I'm going to go back and watch the after show. That's the thing I love about it.
Exactly. You know what? Well, I love doing it. Now, my problem is once we're on the road, I'm not going to be able to be down there at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So that's not going to happen. But I've had so many responses, and people say, "Oh my God, you light up our day, and hopefully you'll all continue to do this after everything's opened up." And I will do it as often as I can, of course. And we do it on an iPhone. So wherever we are, I might be able to, unless we're rehearsing or something, I might be able to do it.
Maybe every once in a while, because I definitely think it's fun. I love it, the fact that it's Friday. It certainly, and especially in this day and age right now when there's a lot of heavy things going in the world, I do think you bring that brightness as well. In terms of legacies, I'm on this legacy thing. How about your children or grandchildren? Do you see them any of them following in your footsteps and carrying on the legacy of entertaining as well?
Well, actually, my granddaughter Berlin is going to be, unbelievable. She's 8. She can sing, she can dance, she's funny, she's beautiful. And my grandson, Knight, they both are good dancers. I don't know if they're singers yet.
Yeah.
My oldest grandson is going to be a Marine. He's 21. And then, but Jagger is an artist, and he's 17, and he's an artist. So it will go on, that way.
Way.
But I'm pretty sure Berlin and Knight are going to be. on
Well, it'll
Broadway.
be interesting to see Berlin because she's 8 and you were about 9 to see if she kind of gets
Right.
that bug, because it certainly catches on. In terms of classic Hollywood stars,
Mhm.
given your dad is your favorite, but
Yeah.
take your dad out of the equation for just a moment, who would you consider your favorite classic Hollywood star or one of
Oh gosh.
them? I know so many to pick from.
It's so tough. To me, there's none better than Peggy Lee. All right,
Ah,
she always looked gorgeous. I mean, she could sing, she could act, she could act. There was just something about Peggy Lee. And when
oh
I
yeah.
see her on the Dean Martin show, but she dressed up, she put
Yeah.
on a show, she wanted to entertain people, and there was just something so amazing about her. And that she could write songs and
Yes.
sing, just a spectacular artist. But if I'm thinking of a movie star, of course, I love Marilyn. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
Marilyn Monroe. Forget about
Yes.
that. But nowadays, as far as actors and actresses, well, no, they're all actors.
Is there, yeah, I mean, there's not, I mean, the golden age of Hollywood, the classic Hollywood. Is there a favorite classic Hollywood movie that you like? I know for
Oh,
mine was Some Like It Hot. And what is it? It Happened One Night. I love
yeah.
those films. Is there a film that you really enjoy or
Well, of course,
television?
Gone with the Wind. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
that's
my God.
probably
Oh, yes.
all time
Yes.
favorite. But when I think about, some came running, Shirley MacLaine and Frank Sinatra, and Dad. I mean, that was and directed by Vincent Minnelli. So some came running. I get chills whenever I, think of that. And I hope people, go back and look at that. But when I think about, I mean, there's so many great movies, and of course, I'm thinking of, my dad when I remember seeing the Young Lions, and so his
Oh,
dad, Montgomery Clift, and Marlon Brando, and he was so nervous, and because it's with and he was a nightclub singer. I mean, he was an entertainer, and so he said that Montgomery Clift was fantastic to him, and taught him a lot of things. But when I think he had to be so nervous, and I'm thinking, how could he be nervous? He was Dean Martin,
yeah.
but he was going to work with Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift, and he said he learned so much from them. So that
Oh,
was a
I would.
great.
Do you ever get nervous anymore?
I get excited. I said, now if I'll get nervous before a Facebook Live show because you never know if it's going to go on or
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Because it's I go, oh gosh, hopefully this is going to be fine. Uh, but for me, as long as I'm prepared, if I know all my songs, if it's a new arrangement and I'm not so sure, I've got to go back and do it again. But the minute I'm on, it's I'm not nervous anymore. I'm more excited, not
Not
nervous.
as nervous. Yeah, you don't look, you certainly don't look nervous. Are you going back in the studio anytime soon? Are we gonna?
We are as soon as we can get out because we have been doing new songs. People have been requesting songs. Today I did All I Do Is Dream of You, a new version of
Oh,
that, and that was. And then last week I think I did.
you did Summer Wind last week. That is one of my favorite. You remember you did Summer Wind? I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's like one of my all-time favorites, right? So
and
that's
then
good.
today we did the wee small hours of the morning. So there's new songs that I have done, not necessarily new songs, but there is a brand new song that L. Russell Brown wrote for me called Mr. Moon. And he wrote Tie a Yellow Ribbon around the old
Oh
oak tree,
yeah.
Knock Three Times on the Field. He wrote hundreds of songs. He also wrote Where Did You Learn to Love Like That from
Mm.
my last album before last. He's a great writer. So we'll be doing that one. And new songs that a little old wine drinker me. They're not
Oh.
new songs, but it's a different,
Yeah, it's a new old song, meaning
fuller,
it's yeah.
fuller arrangements, and not the dads weren't cool, but but we will be doing that.
It's really kind of fun, but I don't know why I had this thought when you were talking about Desi and Nancy and stuff. Have you guys ever thought about the kids of, yeah, have you? I was sitting there thinking to myself, it would be interesting to have a concert of all of you guys, like how they do Stagecoach. Why not do the classic, the classics of
That's
you guys, because you're all entertainers.
well, Laura and my brother Ricky did one in Las Vegas, and now I did one with. Now this is going back to '69, I think it was, in Las Vegas. And it was Deana Martin, Gary Lewis, Maureen Reagan,
Wow.
Melissa, let me see, wait a minute, Sheila McRae's daughter, I'm trying to think of her name, Mickey Rooney Jr.,
Oh my gosh.
Francesca Hilton, who can't sing at all, I mean, she was, she told jokes, I mean, it was, because she's Zsa Zsa's daughter. So, and then there was someone who said he was Peter Lorre Jr., but it turns out he wasn't.
He wasn't? Oh.
It was. But we did a big show, and it was called Chips Off the Old Block. And it was
Wow.
at Caesars.
No, you
And,
guys.
and then you would look at the marquee, and my husband saw it, and it would say Martin and Lewis. And then it said teeny little Dina and a little Gary, and so people came. We're in the big room in Vegas, so it was.
I don't know. I think there might be a big show in Vegas back for you guys too. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just a really interesting one because there's something about classic Hollywood, just even with the best classics ever, that's aggregating all this, entertainment. You've got Netflix with Hollywood that came out with a limited series. We've got Judy Garland. We've got us doing a global podcast around Maryland. It's dramatic, right? And I'm thinking to myself, there just seems to be this trend of really kind of classic Hollywood coming. And I love that about you, Dina, because you're keeping it alive. You're keeping that stage presence alive, and that place that our tagline for Best Classics Ever is bringing the past present. And I think that's what you do in every time that, when you're performing on Facebook Live or when I've seen you and people see you, throughout the world. You're not just here in the United States. And I'm just so honored to not just have you on the show today, but that you are continuing not just your dad's legacy, but the legacy of some of the greatest artists in the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's, what's funny, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
It's a lot of work, but when you're doing something that you love, then it's okay. You put in all those long hours and then you get something great out of it. It's wonderful. But
I know.
It's my pleasure to do it. And now I'm going to have to go downstairs and have dinner.
Yes, you will. Well, that's the lovely thing about getting to get with each other. We're kind of up close and personal in each other's lives and in living rooms and in offices and all that stuff. But, to keeping the legacy alive, keeping your wonderful entertainment and the way that you come across on stage, you definitely are continuing your dad's legacy and helping keeping classic Hollywood alive as well.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing. You're keeping it all alive.
Yes,
it's going all over. Thank you so much.
I think I was born in the wrong era. I really do, because I sat there going to myself. When I hear your stories, I just kind of go, "Oh my gosh, what I would have done to be at the Sands Hotel and seeing the Rat Pack come on stage." And I have a funny. Just before we close, I have a funny story for you. My mom and I were going through Vegas, and she wanted to see. It wasn't the Rat Pack. It was Elvis Presley, and I wanted to stay at a hotel that had 2 slides. And she's like, "But it's not on the Strip." And I was like, "Oh no, but I want to swim." So we didn't see Elvis Presley at the time. But I thought about it. I thought, during that time, I could have seen your, the Rat Pack at the Sands. In my wait a minute, I got to get to the right there. There we go.
There they are.
Say hi, Dad. Well, I know that with your dad, he's would have been 103, this month and coming up, and just want to say thank you again for being on the show. And we will hopefully see you in LA, and maybe we can come to you and really, do something.
So you'll come up before the show. I think we were going to do that last time.
Yes.
Get to it, the rehearsals and everything didn't work out, but we'll make it happen. And thank you for everything you do for Maryland. And when's Maryland's birthday?
Maryland's birthday is June 1st, and your dad is June 7th.
Right.
Rosalind Russell's birthday was June 4th, and Tony Curtis is June 3rd. I was like, that seems to be the Geminis seem to be having it with.
That's right. Now, when was Pat Boone's birthday? Was just the other day.
Oh yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then also, and your birthday's in August, right? Your birthday's in August.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. August 19th. Oh my gosh.
August 19th.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Well, I look forward to it. Keep the legacy going, my dear, and we will see you again soon.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for what you do. Mwah. And
Mwah.
happy birthday, Dad. You know, giving him a call and sending him love there. Now, can you see that photograph?
Oh, I love that. Yes, that's
painting?
your dad, Sammy and Frank. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
it's by oh God, Sam. Oh dear, can't believe he's a fabulous artist who worked under Andy Warhol.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is isn't that gorgeous?
That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous, gorgeous,
Here they are at the
gorgeous.
sands. So we have the sands matching things here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I like yours. This is good. But that always brings me back to old Hollywood. So thanks again, Dina.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Anytime. Thank you. Mwah.